Breaking news coming in. This is the Indian government's agenda when it comes to expanding ties with Russia, ladies and gentlemen. New alternatives when it comes to achieving strategic and its defense as well as economic ends. India wants Russia's help with all China-related matters. It wants to use Russia for its defense capabilities, especially that entire Atmanirbhar mission that India wants to put forward before the world, as well as the entire politics surrounding oil, the geopolitical dynamics surrounding oil. India wants greater cooperation with Russia, especially in the wake of the Ukraine war. Also, India has told Russia that despite Western pressure, India stands with its fair weather friend. Subtle indication also going to the United States in the wake of the entire diplomatic row surrounding Hardeep Nijjar and Gurpatwant Singh Pannu and the entire Khalistani agenda which has emerged from Canada. To get more details, I'm joined by my colleague Anand Narasimhan, who's reporting live from Moscow. So Anand, just 3 days back, China as well as Russia, Vladimir Putin and Xi Jinping reaffirmed their friendship to expand ties, but India at the same time not being left behind, expressing its deft diplomacy to expand its strategic interests.
Absolutely. Ayushman, good afternoon, and good afternoon to all our viewers. I think we are all building up to Prime Minister Narendra Modi touching down here in Moscow. And right behind me is the community hall at the Carlton Hotel, where the Indian community is going to be meeting the Prime Minister on Tuesday morning. But I think we have to understand this at various levels. There are not going to be any big bang announcements. There's just going to be an underlining of some of the commitments that Bharat and Russia want to make together for each other. But somewhere Bharat is also wanting to send messages at multiple levels. The first is to tell the Russians that they need Bharat as much as Bharat needs Russia. And I think this will be subtly understood because the communication window to the world is Bharat for Russia. The other thing is that we also are trying to tell the West that, listen, don't try and dictate terms to us. You want to have friendship with us, then you cannot try and play truant, and you cannot use your soft power and Five Eyes and everything else to try and disrupt internal scenarios for Bharat and to try and pressurize Bharat into trying to yielding to you. So I think with the likes of what they've tried to create with Canada, with Pannu, etc., and also the changing scenarios and what will be the nation. I think Bharat is trying to say, listen, you want to try and create blocks and you are trying to push us into a hegemonistic scenario when we are trying to say that we won't like to exercise a strategic autonomy, then we are also going to try and do the same thing. And there will be a Russia, India, China bloc. And that's possible. Yes, we may have adversarial issues with China, border issues with China, territorial issues with China. But then we are also going to try and ensure that we reduce this as much as possible. We use Russia to try and weigh in on China and say, listen, back off. Let's not fight for territorial aggression, and let's look at cooperation in this region, and perhaps reviving the energy within the BRICS as much as there is energy that Bharat is pushing vis-a-vis Quad and G7. So I think some of these aspects are very critical for us, and we are going to try and understand and underline our presence on the geopolitical stage. And Prime Minister Narendra Modi is going to try and say that, listen, we need to each other as much as ever in the past. There's not about one needing the other more. Now, if we need defense collaborations, you need our partnership and our trust to ensure that there is a trade window to you. We need Russia for our energy supplies, but the world needs Russia for its energy needs. Despite the sanctions, Bharat is the via mechanism or the conduit that it's appearing to be. And Bharat has a challenge. Bharat needs to try and also correct the lopsided balance, trade balance, or whatever trade imbalance we have with Russia, so that we can even look at the direct payments issue. If Russia, Bharat, and China can work on direct payments issue which Russia and China currently have. We've got about 60% of our trade payments with Russia, direct payments. So that's a big step also, and it's a message to the West. So Bharat is also trying to send messages to other people, other friends of theirs, saying, listen, don't make us choose one friend over the other. Because if you're going to try and stitch friendships while, with those who are inimical to us, while trying to say that we are your good friends, then we can also do the same. And we'll continue to do it. And also sending a message to the age-old friend that is Russia, that, listen, I may be depending a little more for my needs with some other countries, but that doesn't mean I've forgotten you as a friend. So it is just trying to underline what is already in place and to try and reinforce the cooperation which is already in place, and try and take that forward. I think that's where Bharat's message is going to be very, very clearly to the Russian counterpart, Prime Minister Narendra Modi's message to President Putin. There are not going to be any big bang announcements which are going to happen. It's just that the continuation, and if there were any creases, any small roadblocks or hurdles that were there within the two equations, they will be resolved. And I think we will see some transformation, some transition at a geopolitical level. I think that's where Bharat's underlining this will happen. Russia-India cooperation, along with China coming into the play via Russia, and somewhere smoothing of equations between Bharat and China. This is something which will prove fruitful for us in the next year and a half or two, and then going forward. I think that's what's going to be critical for us to watch out for. And Manoj Kumar Gupta also getting us those inputs from top sources that this meeting is to underline the importance of each partner for the other, while remembering our ties culturally, diplomatically, strategically, geopolitically, and via trade.
Right, and Anand, you're talking about cultural ties, and of course, it's a delicate balancing act between India's role in the BRICS as well as the Quad initiative. Talking about the diaspora, you have seen the fervor of the Indian diaspora personally in the West, and we've seen the influence of the Indian diaspora in Western nations. But decode for us the resonance of the Indian diaspora in a country like Russia and its ecosystem.
But there is excitement. Bharat-Russia ties have always, transcended geopolitical boundaries, but there has also been a cultural affinity. And I'm here in this one in Moscow. When I touched down, one of the things one felt is that there is a cultural alignment. You feel a little different when we look at, let's say, uh, when we go anywhere in the West or any other nation, you find similarities, but you also find cultural differences. Here, a lot of things are culturally aligned. People are also culturally aligned. Things work in a particular manner, and I think that's always there. And the moment they say you're from Bharat, the attitude of the locals is very different. So that means there is a likability already, and I think that can and that will pay us, hold us in good stead. And these two leaders also have each other's ear, they have each other's trust, and they understand each other's compulsions. So there is no mistrust anywhere. It is only about trying to understand each other, a certain level of empathy, understanding, and cooperation working together. Say, all right, you need to do this to protect your nation's interests. I need to do this to protect my nation's interests. How can we protect both nations' interests together? I think that's what's important. And I think even with the Russia-Ukraine conflict, Bharat's position that this is not the time for war, that's the advice to President Putin, while telling the West, don't meddle and don't get, don't try and overtly become adversarial with Russia, is another message. So I think the message has gone from both ends, and we have not tried to, embarrass Russia on the world stage, nor have we tried to sideline Ukraine or the humanitarian concerns with Ukraine and what it's facing geopolitically. So I think that is also underlines the fact that we know how to walk the tightrope, and we know how to create a narrative which is in the interest of Bharat and which is for Bharat. And I think that's something which is being widely appreciated, and that's why the world is watching at Mission Moscow. The Modi-Putin meet is getting summit level interest. Each nation will try and push, or each hegemony will try and push their own narrative. But Bharat is very clear. Our agenda is our agenda. We are not taking to President Putin a Western agenda, an American agenda. We are not taking to President Putin anybody else's agenda.
Absolutely. The tag of fair weather friends only persisting between India and Russia. Thank you, Anand, for getting us the latest from Moscow. I'm also joined by my colleague Siddhant on the broadcast. Siddhant, when it comes to India-Russia ties, now something like the defense sector is something that has been a central part of the bilateral ties between India and Russia, something that has been very instrumental in India even creating the building blocks of Atmanirbhar Bharat. Now, even in the wake of the Russia-Ukraine war, when there were fluctuations in global oil prices, Russia came to India's aid when it came to staving off any kind of economic turmoil in the wake of the Russia-Ukraine war, also given the tensions in the Middle East. So building upon these ties is only important for India, regardless of which government is in power in India. Russia continues to be that fair weather friend that helps India guide through those tumultuous global tailwinds.
That's right. India-Russia relations are time-tested. It's a special, privileged, comprehensive strategic partnership. And also, there are two aspects to it. First of all, this relationship is multifaceted, and there are two key aspects as far as this particular visit of Prime Minister Modi is concerned. One is that India has a very ambitious plan